Hey, hello guys. Hello, hello, hello. This is Spirit Journey, and I hope you all are having a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. Today is Saturday, August 17th, 2019, and it is now 7:50 p.m. New York City time. And I hope you all are having a great day. I think I have a very interesting topics to cover. And as you read in the title, let me get the title name. The title is Through a Black Perspective, Jeffrey Epstein, Immigration, and Chimeras. Okay. Now, how I got to talk about all this? Yes, welcome viewers. And I invite all of you, the viewers right now, to just say a hello in the chat room so I could say hello to you all. Yes. And I want this live stream to be interactive. It's very important with doing live streams that, see, the people who go in the chat room, they make the show just as exciting. There's me, but then there's you guys out there. And to learn about your opinions or questions really enhances the experience for all of us involved. So I encourage you to just say hello in the chat room. Okay. Well, I want to talk about certain topics today and how I got to do this live stream. When I got up this morning, I was thinking a lot about the topics with Jeffrey Epstein, and most of you, I would imagine, would know who Jeffrey Epstein is. He's a man. He recently passed away. He passed away over the weekend. He was arrested for trafficking of underage girls for prostitution and who knows what else. But basically that's what he was arrested for this time. He was arrested in the past, maybe around 11, 12 years ago. Yes, hello, new viewers. Welcome. And yes. Oh, hey, how you doing? To you, Flame. Hey, thank you for the compliment. That's nice. Yeah. This is going to be a really interesting conversation, I think, to you, Flame. And you always add a lot of good insight. I like your questions. So yes, I'm just really getting started here. But yes, Jeffrey Epstein, he's an individual. He was arrested, as I was saying, about 12 years ago. He did about 13 months time for admitting that he solicited prostitution, solicited a prostitute. But it's not saying that the prostitute was underage. So that was the real issue. See how sneaky he is. But either way, that's what he was actually arrested for. He did time, 13 months time, for admitting that he solicited a prostitute. Okay, but in actuality, they were underage girls. But I was thinking a lot about him, especially with this other YouTuber who was discussing about Jeffrey Epstein and other matters and how it pertains to Black people. We watch the news, and oftentimes when we watch the news, Black people in particular, some of us may ask ourselves subconsciously or even consciously how this pertains to themselves. Yes, hello viewers. Hello. You're welcome also to say a hello in the chat room. I want this to be very interactive, and your thoughts, questions, and concerns are what makes this live stream exciting. So I encourage you all to just to say hello in the chat room. Okay, Two Flame is saying Epstein's girlfriend was just seen in Hollywood. Yes, I wanted to talk about it. In Hollywood, reading a CIA book in In-N-Out Burger. Yes, I heard about that too, and I'm going to discuss that a little bit. Yes, it's all interconnected. What I'm going to talk about, but this YouTuber, I think it was yesterday evening. I missed her live stream, and I saw it after the fact, but it was a really, she was really on fire, her live stream, and she discussed about, Jeffrey Epstein and what it meant to her as it pertains to blacks. And I think after listening to her video, live stream, I was agitated about Jeffrey Epstein, and I asked myself these questions, and it doesn't seem like anyone really is addressing this situation. So I am going to, as I said, I'm going to talk about the three major topics: Epstein, something else about immigration, and what's called chimera. And I would define what a chimera is when I get to that point. Okay, so one of the questions I was asking myself as it pertains to Jeffrey Epstein, that they didn't arrest the madam. And as To You Flame had mentioned about his ex-girlfriend, her I don't know how to pronounce her name, but at least in the media, they many of them pronounce it Ghislaine. Her last name is Maxwell. She's actually from Britain. And Ghislaine Maxwell was known to, according to the victims, who were teens at the time and now they're adults, they're in their 30s, that she had groomed them to become prostitutes. Okay? So I asked myself, pertaining to Ghislaine, how come she wasn't arrested? It's a very important question. You have young women, and at the time they were teenagers, and then these poor women, young women, their alleged abusers got off. 12 years ago there was a trial, but nothing about Ghislaine. And then fast forward to now, and the girls had come forward, because now you have more of the victims coming forward and working collectively under their own lawyer. And they mentioned about the madam. But how come she wasn't arrested with Jeffrey Epstein? Because the two worked hand in hand. She was always around. At least that's what they implied, that they worked together. And it was the girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, okay. To Your Flame says, because she CIA just like Epstein. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I just remembered with I'm going to call her Maxwell, because I'm not really sure the pronunciation with her first name, but Maxwell is her last name. I'll call her Madam Maxwell. Okay, so Madam Maxwell, her father worked in I think they said MI6, because she's living in Britain. She's from Britain, so it would be MI6. Or the Israeli equivalent, one of the two, but I think it was MI6. Her father worked in that. So, a bird and the feather flock together. If one parent is, the kids kind of follow in the same thing. But it's interesting there was no arrest for her. But even still, what Tu Yu Flame is saying, she was CIA like Epstein. So if Epstein was a CIA operative, but he was arrested. So it seems to be suggesting that Madam Maxwell, was even more powerful, because she eluded the first time, the first arrest 12 years ago of Epstein, and now the present. And as Tu Yu Flame had mentioned, that she was seen, Madam Maxwell was seen in a burger joint reading a book about the CIA. And someone asked, are you so-and-so? And she said yes, and the person took her picture, and she didn't seem to mind. Isn't that power? Now that is power. Okay? That is real power. There was another question I asked myself. I'm going to put on my glasses. Okay, I'm just reading from my notes here. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay. I asked myself, okay, if Jeffrey Epstein, if he hung himself, because that is the consensus, according to the media, the main media, they never showed what he hung himself with. And why I ask myself that is because, they would, to establish that there was a suicide, you have to see evidence of the tool that was used for committing suicide. So if he hung himself, well, where's the thing that was used to choke himself? But they never show it, you notice? They never showed it because, see, one thing that was mentioned in the media was that when he was on suicide watch, they only issue out, like, for blankets, they give like a paper blanket, okay, not real cloth, paper. So you can't choke yourself, you can't hang yourself on paper. And again, he's a grown man, he's about 6 feet, and so that's some weight on, he looked like a man that had some weight on him, so it's just gonna tear. So why aren't they showing the evidence of the tools that he used to commit suicide? Because in past criminal cases, sometimes they show pictures of the weapon, whether it be a knife, a gun, but they're not showing the thing that choked him, allegedly. So that is a concern that I had. They never show it. Okay, there's two other things, and with this, I'm going to show you. I'm going to share you a screen. Okay, let me just see which one I'm going to talk about first. Yeah, I want to talk about property. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to show you a screen here. I'm just navigating on my monitor. Let me show you. Okay, so you see this screen in front of me. Let me move out these. I can't stand when they put these things that cover everything. Okay. And all the screens that I'm going to share with you, in the description page, on the my channel, I'm going to provide the links so you can look at them at your own leisure. Okay, so it's down below, and the links, there'll be three different links I will be providing. This link here, this page that you see here, are one of the links that I have already provided. So if you have to do something and you're not able to see the whole page. You can always look at it later on, or when the video is finished being uploaded, you'll be able to look at it then as well. Okay, so what I wanted to discuss here, and it's about like when you have a criminal, and when, at least to my understanding, and I'm going to show you here, when, let's say, a drug dealer, that the police, the authorities, confiscate anything that they think is associated with that activity. Okay, so how come with Jeffrey Epstein nothing was taken from him? So he died a rich man. Okay, this page here says forfeiting property in a federal criminal case, which this definitely was. Okay, let me just see here. Sorry for all these pop-ups. Okay, I'm going to read it here. It says, federal law allows law enforcement agencies and prosecutors to seize property, including money, from people convicted of certain federal crimes, such as drug trafficking, money laundering, and organized crime. The seizure is known as forfeiture, and it's done without compensation to the owner. Prosecutors must be able to prove that the defendant used the property to commit a crime, earned the property from illegal activity, or purchased the property using the proceeds of illegal acts. Forfeiture laws are intended to punish the defendant, reduce profits from, and thereby deter criminal activity, and produce revenue, read that again, and produce revenue for law enforcement agencies, etc. Okay, now that's very, very important. Okay, very important. So how come, so let me go back. So I asked myself, how come this wasn't done in the case of Jeffrey Epstein? He committed federal crime, and such federal crimes as human trafficking, right? So they're saying drug trafficking has a heavier weight than human trafficking. And these were, at least the girls that they show, were all Caucasian girls. So the value of a little Caucasian girl is worth less than the trafficking of some drug. Okay, isn't that one? Yes, and yes, he is white too. That's right. Oh, oh, look at it. Yeah, the dog snoring. Oh, you can hear him snore. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My poor baby. I love my little babies. Yeah, they're usually really good. They ate just before I did the, setup for the show. Okay, he just woke up. Yeah, but isn't that something? So here it's slapping the girl in the face by their, in my opinion, deliberately poo-pooing on these girls as just property. Like they don't have a soul. And again, it doesn't matter to me what the girl's race, what their race is, but the fact that these were minors. See, minors are put in the care of adults to protect them, and they weren't protected. And again, if it's happening to those white girls, it most likely is also happening to black girls too, but they're just not showing that. They're not telling about that. That's just my thought. Again, I don't know. But I do want to talk about something else as it pertains to girls and black girls. I found something else. Well, I was thinking again about the people that were connected to this this case. And again, they may not be involved in all this, but let me show you something else that's on the screen here. Let me just change this window here. I'm going to show you another picture. Okay. Okay, as you see with this page here, this is entitled Naomi Campbell in the Jeffrey Epstein Scandal. And I guess it's by Zoom In Stars. Okay, when I was just going through the video, I came across this page. And again, I can't seem to, I won't play the video, but again, I did share this link. Let me just make the screen bigger. Okay, I will not play it because, they've been demonetizing me. Even if I have the volume off and play it, they demonetize me. So I'll just show a window. Okay, so in this window, okay, yeah, this was just to, I'm just going to back up just a little bit. I was just, again, mentioning about who I call Madam Maxwell. Okay, this is that lady. This is a I guess like a lawsuit. Okay, and this is the victim, Virginia. I'm not trying to pronounce her last name, but I've been hearing Jeffrey. She's married now. But yes, so she put in a lawsuit against Madam Maxwell. How come she wasn't arrested? Again, so it's not like she's just talking. It's an actual case against her. It's filed in the Southern District of New York. That's my district, New York City. Okay? So how could this happen? How could this happen? So she made a statement to the District of New York, the Southern District, but yet she's not arrested. This is for a civil lawsuit. Not a criminal. And it's ridiculous. So again, it's just another slap in the face against this victim because you're not prosecuting. And if this happens to a white girl, it's going to happen that much more to black people. So this is really important. This is highly important and should scare the black community. Not to say good for her because she's because of her race. No, if it's happening to her, Virginia, it's also happening to you, most likely, but they're not covering you in the media. So I want to say that. But let me just pull a little forward. Okay, I wanted to show a picture. Let me show her face. I'm sure you know of her. Okay. Now this is a picture of the famous model by the name of Naomi Campbell. I first learned of this model in the 1990s. She was a teenager then. She was something. She is very, very photogenic, very, very exciting on the catwalk and everything. And okay, so this video, okay, I already showed who put up this video. But anyway, why I'm showing this picture of her, let me see any other picture. Okay, oh, I guess Virginia Roberts Jeffrey. I guess this is her statement. I met Naomi Campbell at a birthday party of hers on a yacht in the south of France. Okay, so she is known. Naomi Campbell, this model that you see here, she's a black model. She's also from Britain, but she has her parents, I think, are both from, or at least the mom is from Jamaica. And she also has a Chinese mixture in her genetics. Just an FYI. Let me see anything else. Okay. Virginia also states she is a friend of, Madam, who I call Madam Maxwell, but she was a real, I'm not going to say that word. See in the house. Okay, it says photos show Virginia standing next to Naomi at a yacht party in 2001. Let's see. Okay, I don't see her there, but either way, the reason why I'm showing Naomi again, she's a professional model, and I'm sorry, my picture was in the way. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just navigating. On the screen it shows one thing, but I forgot my face was in it. Okay, let me just say that. Okay. It was mentioned about that Naomi Campbell, the famous high fashion model, she and many other celebrities was in Epstein's what we call black book, the telephone book, a contact book. She and many people. And no, I'm not implying, I'm not saying that she's directly involved in illegal activity, but it just came to my memory about this model. Now, remember the victims had mentioned that they were at one point being used to actually recruit girls. Now, so Ms. Campbell, the model, the high fashion model, how did she get involved with this circle of people? That's my question. How did that happen? It's like you're working, you know someone who's doing things that are horrible. How the overlap? Because people who associate with people on a regular basis. Now again, I don't know how often she was in some type of proximity of Jeffrey Epstein, but she was listed in the Black Book and at activities where some of the young victims of that time were. So it's all like one big family. It's a lot of overlapping. And again, some of this overlapping could be completely innocent. Just because you know of a person doesn't mean you're involved in their activities. But again, I bring mention to regarding Naomi Campbell because she is a model, and that some of the victims were told to recruit, and that they were, I think they said in one instance, a modeling agency that was really a front for recruiting girls to then victimize them and get them to do prostitution. And I'm asking myself, was Naomi Campbell used to bring about it unawares, and was she used to deceive? Not that she was trying to deceive, but like, how do you say? Like, let's say you have a person who's loved in a particular community. In this case, the modeling community. She was the best of the best, and because of her good reputation, and they say, hey, could you come to this activity, and she says, oh, sure. And then other women might, let's say other young aspiring models, say, oh, I recognize her, she's that famous model, and they get to talk and chat and get her, get the young girls that way. You know what I'm saying? So to borrow, in essence, borrow someone because of who they are, to entice people to come onto your boat, so to speak, to later be exploited. I do remember that Naomi Campbell was dating a billionaire. That's B as in boy, a billionaire. And so I think, I guess with the Billionaires Club, that billionaires have a even smaller circle of friends. And so everybody kind of knows everybody. So if you're dating a billionaire, and again, this billionaire, they said, was actually married to somebody else. So in essence, she's being, how you say, what they say, you're not married to them, but someone else is, like a mistress. Okay, so she's involved with a married man who's a billionaire, and that billionaire maybe she got in contact with Epstein because who she's dating. I don't know whether she's still dating that person. So, but you wonder if someone is in a black book, anybody's name who's in the black book, why are they in the black book? And are names in black books, are they ever deleted? Okay, and if it's not deleted, seems to suggest maybe there's some type of connection that didn't get severed. You know what I'm saying? Why was her name in the black book? Again, you have anyone has a right to have a telephone, a book that has contacts. It doesn't mean that you even ever called the person. You just have it, right? So it's just a question that I ask myself: how is she entwined in this Epstein case? Okay, that is my question. Why is she connected? And again, one of the videos I saw mentioned that there was a dummy modeling agency, and it was to lure women in it. How about her agency? Are all agencies kind of like that? Remember, in the past, there were a lot of scandals about the things that happened to models, high fashion models, famous models, and how they were being exploited by their own agency, that more respect was given to the client versus the model. And that's why some of the models became their own, what you call, private agent. They were a free agent. They represented themselves. Okay, so it's just food for thought. It really has me thinking. Why even in certain modeling agencies they want certain types of women? certain types of women. Why is that? Back in the day, then in the early 80s, it was blondes and blue eyes. And they had said to this person once, "Oh, I'm sorry, we can't use you. We want the all-American look." And they were referring to a black person, that they didn't want the black person. They meant they wanted a white person, blonde and blue eyes. And look at Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein is a white man, and he had blue eyes. Okay? So even though he's Jewish, he's procuring a lot of white females with blonde hair and blue eyes. So that Aryan theme is keep popping up again and again and again. Okay? Why this obsession with the blonde and blue eyes? That is a big question. Even though he's a Jewish man, Epstein. And I thought the blonde and blue-eyed thing was about Nazis, and that Nazis were against the Jewish people. So how could this be? How could a Jewish person or Jewish organization promote the blonde and blue-eyed superiority thing? Or that the sign of beauty is associated with blonde and blue-eyed people. Okay? So this is just really food for thought. You know, that it doesn't make sense. It's illogical, but it's active. It's an active philosophy, it seems. And as I almost forgot to mention, that Jeffrey Epstein was to, if he didn't already, was to impregnate 20 females with his sperm. So there's a genetic baby making, baby harvesting, for whatever reason. It sounds like another Nazi program, but Jewish style. Doesn't make any sense, and it's awful at the implication. Why is a 66-year-old man want to produce children out of using 20 women? Doesn't make any sense unless he's building up an army. Okay, sounds like Nazi Germany again popping up. Okay, but there was something else I wanted to, let's see. I think I already showed it. Let me see. Yeah, I think I just want to make sure I covered everything that I wanted to cover with regard to Epstein. Okay, I mentioned about Madam Maxwell, and then she was never arrested, even though she's associated with some of the victims and in photo with them, so she can't say I've never met this person. By the confiscation of property in other types of federal cases, but as we saw, none of Epstein's property was taken away. Now, why wasn't his property confiscated? Now, I think there's a clue in all this with regard to the property. Remember in that document I showed you that when the property that's confiscated is to go into the back to the government agencies to help finance them. Well, there's something that, like, the government, how to explain this? Okay, I'll try to explain through another example. Okay, like I am a veteran, and I went to school under the veterans, the VA, paying for my my master's degree program, and I thank them for that. But like I think before that benefit came through, I had to pay for some stuff out of pocket. I think that was, and they reimbursed me. It was some reimbursement that I was entitled to. I paid something out of my pocket, and the government reimbursed me, but they did not reimburse me for the taxes I had to pay on that item. Whatever tax money that I had to pay, the government wants to keep that. So the same thing with Jeffrey Epstein's property, and as I gave as a clue, again, let me show you that paper again. Let me see. Just so that we're on the same page before I go on to the next thing. Okay, let me just show that again as a reminder. Okay. Now here on the bottom it says, in addition to federal forfeiture laws, most states have laws that permit state agencies to seize property gained or used in criminal activity. This article explains I'm sorry, wait a minute. See, let me just make sure I got it right. Okay, it's above that. Okay, let me read this again. Forfeiture laws are intended to punish the defendant, reduce profits from, and thereby deter criminal activity, and produce revenue for law enforcement agencies. So the government is not going to take away from itself. So I'm suggesting, is there a possibility that those properties that allegedly belongs to Jeffrey Epstein, that the government's not going to take away from itself? Maybe all those properties are government agencies, and that Jeffrey Epstein is just the fall guy for the government agencies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, please, those of you who are listening, if I made my point clear with regard to the property forfeiture, please just indicate yes or no that about your understanding. Okay, we have Darrell Martin. He says, thank you for keeping the heat on these, you know what, and not falling for the okie dokie distraction of Jay-Z and the NFL. Yes. Yeah, thank you, Darrell, for saying that. Yeah, because, see, this is important because it's saying that there's a lot of stuff happening underneath. And they're playing us stupid. See, my view is, the viewers who are watching now, we are very intelligent. See, we're seeking truth. We're seeking to try to understand the things that don't make sense, and we're trying to find those things that make sense, to ask the right questions. I am not a professional reporter. I didn't go to school to learn how to be a reporter. I'm just an individual from New York City who just, have access to the internet, and I watch YouTube, and I watch all this stuff on this topic, and I don't understand what's going on. They're not asking basic questions. So when I watch on YouTube about, I'm not even going to give the name, but certain news agencies, that they sound more like a talk show rather than a bona fide, respectable news people. It's just gossip that they're saying. So they're not asking these questions. Why wasn't Madam Maxwell, why wasn't she arrested? Even though the victims pointed her out. And they're allowing this Madam Maxwell to just walk around And no one touched. She has to be that. She's probably even more, as I said earlier, she's probably even more connected than Jeffrey Epstein. That's the only logic that I can think of why she's not arrested, because she's more powerful than Jeffrey. But this Jeffrey Epstein really probably pissed off somebody royally, and they want to use him as the fall guy. And I think, I'm gonna say, I think in part why they're using Jeffrey Epstein as the fall guy in all this is because of the link that he has with the former president and our current president. And I think that's the only reason why this case is in the media now. That's my honest opinion, my honest, humble opinion, that if he wasn't president, nothing would be said. But because President Trump, I'm just going to say the name, because President Trump is the now president, and you have people, and again, it's, everybody's entitled to their opinion, whether they love or hate who's currently in office. But either way, that because he's in office now and he has political enemies, that they're using this case as a last attempt to pull him down from office. And so, boom, he was in a picture with, the president was in a picture with Jeffrey Epstein, even though Trump hasn't seen him in 15 years. And Trump had kicked him out of some type of membership or something with some club that he owns, because Epstein allegedly violated this young teenage girl that worked in Trump's property. So that's a good thing. Kick him out. I have no problem with that. No one should have a problem with kicking him out. Okay? So I think that's the reason why this Epstein case is being watched right now. And so because Madam Maxwell wasn't a part of that, she's not in office, she's not being focused on. But you're going to focus on the person that was connected to the different presidents. It was President Clinton, and President Trump. So so you have people who don't like either of those presidents, and so they're using this case for their advantage. That's just my opinion. Yeah. Let me know what your opinion is about that. Why do you think this case is being put in, being watched right now? Okay. So, I want to talk about another topic. This is, this topic I'm going to talk about now, because I can't think of anything else with regard to Epstein. So, I want to talk about immigration. Okay. And I was prompted to talk about this portion of the video. I had to go out today. I had to take a train into Brooklyn. And when I was coming back home, back into Manhattan, I saw, like when I was taking the subway, these people working on the subway. And so I have a quick video that I did of it. Okay, so I'm going to show you that. Let me see. Sorry, let me just switch that. Sorry. Yeah, I have all these windows up and I'm just trying to navigate in all this. Okay, yeah, I took a picture and a small video, and I'm going to play part of it. Let me see here. It's so tricky. I'm using OBS. It's computer software that helps me navigate to, through different windows. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, okay. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. Still navigating here. Okay, so let me double click on this here. Okay, I'm going to show a little picture. Okay, I have it up. Okay, window capture. Let me delete that. Oops. Okay, make it bigger. Bear with me. Okay, wow. It's not the same. Wait a minute. It's showing one thing on the monitor and then on something else. Okay, I have an idea. Okay, I'll do it this way. Let me see. Make this bigger. Okay, transition. Okay, I'm going to, hopefully I can make it work. I'm going to double click on it and just look closely. It's going to be a little noisy because they're working on the tracks. Let me double click. Oh, it didn't do it. Oh, it didn't do it. Wait a minute. Oops. Shoot, let me fix it again. Sorry about that. It was starting to play, but it played elsewhere. Let me see here. Yeah, this is tricky. I'm just going to do it like this. Let's see. Okay, it won't get bigger, so I just do it like that. Just play it. Hope it works. Okay, look at the back of the jacket. It says contractor. I will not show any faces or anything like that. Okay, that's all I'm going to show with that. And then it's going to make sense. Okay. So why I'm showing that is it caught me by surprise because on the back of... Okay. That scene caught me by surprise because of many different variables. And again, this portion of immigration, what I'm going to talk about, it's not to put hate on anybody. What I'm what I'm expressing is due to my love for my country. I'm an American by birth, and plus I'm a veteran. And I live in New York City, and I live in a city where you have a lot of American blacks, and in particular a lot of black men, black American men who are on the streets. And where I live in New York City, you have so many black men on the street who really are out of it. A lot of them are, drug dependent. And it seems like recently it's even more black men on the street. And so when I see pictures of, people who, again, I never met these men, that I showed you the video. Okay, this is not to say that these people are bad people, the people that were working in the subway. I'm sure they're really hardworking people. I'm sure that they have integrity. But it just got me thinking. I got confused because I wasn't prepared to see or have an expectation to see the back of the jackets. It says contractor. And again, I don't know these people, but it was just an impression that I got when I saw them working. And I asked myself, I've never seen the word contractor on the orange and yellow immersion, jackets. They always have what do you call the people who work for transit. I forget the name of what it's called, but MTA. And they didn't have MTA. Why didn't they have the MTA? But it says contractor. Now the word contractor, it's like a vague term. A contractor is someone who's under a contract. And in the construction business or contract, like people have subcontractors, contractors, it's somebody like higher up, and then they have people working under them. That's like the general idea, at least in New York City. You have someone, and then they send out people who are under contract through the initial contractor, and they're doing the work. And I said to myself, well, are these people, again, I don't know them, anything like that, and I'm sure they're really nice people, but I got confused because they all seem to have a very uniform look, almost like some of them carbon copies of each other. They just look, I don't know, it just stood out to me. And I wonder, are these people really contract workers? And why they have the word contract worker? Why do you need to know that they're contract workers? Well, with these jobs that's being done, that's just coming to my mind now, these are union jobs. And to get a contractor doing work on the tracks, you have people who are in the union who are paid to do those specific jobs. And these people look like they might all be from the same part of the world where they're from. And why is it that they have such a uniform look and like they could be from the same country? And how was it that they were able to get a contractor position and bypass the union employees? Now, my feeling, this is just my feeling, that more and more, immigration, and again, this video entitled the black perspective, or I should say through the black perspective, my perspective as a black woman, an American black woman, how is it that they were able to get this contract job? And you have many people, union employees, who want to do the overtime and everything like that. They need money. You know, times are hard. Times are very expensive in New York City. So how is that? How were they able to buy it past them? That's a big question. And again, you have all these people in New York City who are jobless. You have a lot of blacks in prison. And then when they get out of prison, they need a job skill. So how did these people, that my impression, again, they could be US citizens, I don't know. But just an impression, just my feeling, how is it that these contractors were able to get what they're getting, and Americans, black American men, are not being groomed to do that type of work? Because we have a lot of homeless black people living on the streets, especially in this neighborhood. How come they're not getting these opportunities to get a contractor position that pays well, that should be paying well? At least if it's union scale, they get paid nice money. And if they're doing overtime or if it's a holiday, double time. So these are very prized jobs. These aren't menial jobs. These are highly, skilled jobs that pay well and you get good benefits when you work for the MTA in New York City. Okay? But it's not happening for a large number of Americans. And so when I hear statistics that more jobs were created, but created for who? See, that's my question. Who are the jobs being created for? I'm suggesting here that the possible jobs that are being created for people who aren't from here. Some of the euphemisms that are given to these people are what they call guest workers. Guest workers, like you're having a guest in your home. So that's a connotation that they're welcome. And yes, these people are welcomed. But how come some Americans aren't welcomed to these jobs? Why aren't jobs being created for people who have been here for many, many generations? Why are they being overlooked? And so when I saw these guys, again, they're probably hardworking, nice people, I see a possible disparity here. They clearly have jackets, the orange and yellow, reflectors, says contractor, in comparison to those who work at the same place, MTA. So more and more, so also what I'm getting at is that these contract workers may be recruited from other places because the labor is cheaper. This cheap labor is being utilized and maybe even exploited at times. Are they getting paid at least the minimum wage in New York City? And if not, then that's an exploitation of labor. So that's my issue. I feel that the system is being created to push and push and push Americans lawful immigrants and American citizens out of their rightful job. So more and more and more, you just call yourself a contractor. And this is reminding me of a situation that I was in. It was about a week ago. Okay, excuse me. About a week ago, I went to an agency, an agency that utilizes, if you want to get a home health aid professional, and the woman that I'm addressing is a woman from another country, from Europe though. And I said at one point, I said, well, with the social climate today, and someone, possibly working for, taking care of my relative, that I would like that the person that you send, if we decide to utilize your services, that the person be a U.S. citizen or someone that has valid working papers. And that ruffled her feathers a lot. And she elaborated, we could only use people who are lawfully able to work here because, this line of work being a home health aide, you have to be have your license or certificate. I forget which one she said. And they have to be registered under them, the Department of Health. So we can only use those type of people. But what she's not saying, and I think this is also why I'm including this. See, you can be a bona fide agency just like you can be a bona fide contractor. Okay? But some agencies and some contractors have a front. They have their legal side, but they may be recruiting people and getting paid under the table, or just right, under the tunnel, who are from other places that are not lawfully able to work here. And I would imagine it would be easy to do. Okay, you have your legal side, but anyone can just come in and you have a side agreement with them, with people who may not be lawfully able to work here. They might be working to get their papers or whatever what the situation is. And you just send them to the client. You just assume the client is, the agency or the contractor is sending someone who's skilled. You're not thinking about, are they legal, illegal, do they have their papers or not? You just want help. But see, this comes to the forefront what happened years ago when I was just starting out in the workforce. See, back in the 1980s and 1970s, it's still part of the women's movement. Women were in the job force now. Women initially were working at, what they call housewives. They stayed at home and they took care of the household and their children and their spouse. And then some of them were forced to work, get jobs outside of the home, and to help bring in more income to support their household. And so with the women going out, they needed someone to take care of their kids. And so they might have gone to an agency, say, hey, I need an au pair or babysitter or a health aide, whatever. And the agency sends somebody over, whether you like them or not. If you like them, you keep them, right? Real simple. But what happened in the early 1980s, see, a lot of newscasters, the women on TV, See, they were becoming more popular and becoming more of a showpiece on television. And many of them were married and had children. And then someone wrote or did a story about some of the women that so-and-so hired an illegal person. Oh, you're hiring illegals and you work in the news? This was really, really common topic back then in the early 80s. And the women who were working were made to feel embarrassed and ashamed to be having a job outside of the home. Women were shamed. So back then, it was a no-no to have someone who may not have their papers to work here lawfully and in your home, taking care of your children. They made a big thing out of it to shame these ladies. So fast forward, almost 40 years later, to now, 2019. You have people hiring the same type of people, for the same industry. But if you make mention of it now, you will be perceived as being someone who's biased against about immigrants. So why is it okay now to hire someone who may not be lawfully able to work here, but in the past, for women who had to work, why were these other women shamed back in the day? See that? It's inconsistencies. So it's all about politics, not about what's right and wrong. They're here because, hey, someone needs someone to help out. Just like with the MTA, the subway system here in New York City, they needed these extra workers, right? You have a contractor, and no one's saying anything. Is the contractor, are they making sure that these people are lawfully able to work here? Again, I've never met these people, and I'm sure they're good people. But it's just something that I feel that is being missing. How come certain people are able to be zoned in for certain jobs, contract work, but why aren't they getting contracts for people who are established here? So it's a question that I have, and I get angry. I get angry seeing American people living on the street. And I did mention about the increased number of black men and ladies living on the street. It's just more. But now there is a new introduction to even white men and women, young white men and women living on the street. And I think they're being bussed into New York City. They're not like local people. They're not locals. They're from somewhere else, just, based on their dress and the way they look. They're not from here, my instincts are telling me. They're being bussed in. So all these people are being displaced because now there's no work for them. But yet, you have people who have the power to employ, and they're selecting the cheap labor, which is from individuals who are from other countries where you can pay them less. And isn't that partly exploitive in nature? You got to ask yourself these questions. And it could be done gradual, because you get so used to them coming in, But after a while, this is a government job. The MTA is government, and it's union workers. Union workers, you got to pay all that money. So maybe slowly they might be saying, hey, we're not going to give you overtime we're going to use contractors instead. So it's diminishing your ability to make money where you used to be able to make money. And if you can just settle with contract workers, you might cut out the whole union workers entirely. You can do that. Say, hey, we're the city, we want to save more money. Let's just get these contract workers / undocumented worker or a documented worker and pay them less. Okay, that's what's happening. That's the trend that I sense what's happening. Again, my interpretation could be incorrect, but my instincts are telling me this is a possibility, and I don't like it. And it has happened to me. I've had a job at a private company, and me and another American woman were displaced out of our jobs and employed questionable employees of their legal status to work. And I remember the smirk on their face. See, that's also, I'm taking this personal at times, because I'm remembering what happened to me. I didn't like it, his smirking. It happened more than once. See, it happened to me more than once. It was the same thing, and I remember how I felt. It's like the guest workers, as they like to call it in New York City, have more power than black citizens of this country. And that hurts me so much. So much that hurts me. So it's a wake-up call to be aware of what's going on. And I think, the countries where some of these guest workers are coming from, some Americans say that, oh, you're exploiting their labor. Okay, some Americans could be, definitely. But no one has ever said this, and I'm going to say it. How about that the countries that they're coming from, that maybe they are the one that's truly exploiting these people? I don't think that they're just coming here just by themselves. I think the country that they're coming from is forcing them out to come to the U.S. to extract the money and send the money back to their countries. I think that's what's really happening. So it's like reverse slavery. We can't force them to work in this country because there's no money in their countries. Let's force them out, send them out in buses, get jobs, and then send the money back to their own countries, to the government. So isn't that exploiting your population? No one has ever said that in the news. But instead, the bad, dirty American. Are we really the bad, dirty American? Are we the only one that's bad? Or are the countries that are that's setting these people, that maybe they're complicit in all this as well, and that they are the ones that are exploiting their laborers? Okay, I think also that many of us, many Black Americans, we're blinded by the term minority. And I know a lot of people aren't liking this, because I'm just looking at the viewers, and that it's dropping, the number of viewers of this live stream. This isn't hate speech. This is about exposing possible trends. This is an interpretation of some of the data that I'm receiving. And I'm sensing something that is becoming lopsided and is hurting American blacks, and also hurting our white counterpart as well. Okay, now the term minority, that I think some of us are getting, that it's almost like a blanket term, the word minority. And the blanket term is saying, oh, well, we're all minorities, and so we're all equal. And so when you're hurting, I'm hurting. But that's not true. And I think many of the black Americans, as I said, are being blinded by the term minority. When you look at some of the immigrants who are coming here, and I've mentioned this in past videos, that American blacks, we always seem to speak up for other minority groups. We're in the forefront, especially with the Trump coming into office. That we're in the forefront when there's a riot or something like that. You find a lot of black people up front. But some of the immigrants, I don't see them. I don't see them speaking up for black Americans. I don't see it. I've never seen it. But what I do see, I see that many of the blacks losing their jobs, losing places to live, losing room for their children to go to school because now it's overcrowded with people from who are undocumented workers, and the children of undocumented workers. And what are you left with? Nothing. And so the quality of your education, black man and woman, is being put on the edge. And moreover, that when it comes to jobs, just like I was displaced from my job twice for people who are possibly undocumented who are undocumented, okay? And I got the impression undocumented because every time when someone a white official looking person walked in the room, that one of them started to hide, okay? So what am I to think? And so how is it that the jobs, when they start to get established, or maybe some of them might be lucky enough to form their own job or company, I never see them hire American blacks. So if we are all the family of minority, how come other minorities don't hire American blacks? We're under the same umbrella. See, a lot of black Americans assume we're under the same umbrella, and we're not. There are two separate rules. There are rules for others, and there's the rules for American blacks. And we haven't learned that distinction. I had to learn the hard way. And so, why aren't we speaking out and not demanding that these new groups, and here we buy from them. We buy from them, and some of them don't respect our money, and they poo-poo us. You've seen it. You've seen it, black Americans. You've seen it, new groups, and they start a company, and they start in your neighborhood. They experiment on you to learn the do's and the don't of business. And once they get their stronghold and get better, then they move into a white neighborhood or more affluent neighborhood. And you stand for it. You don't say a damn thing. So start demanding that, hey, we buy from you, you should also employ us. Not all of them employ us. So you have to start waking up. So what I'm saying here, that they're going to get a stronghold over you. They're going to be your new masters. And then you're going to get upset. Right? Let me know if you're hearing me right or in the chat room. those who are listening. Let me know if you hear what I'm saying and if I'm making sense. Am I making sense to you all out there who are watching or who will be watching? You have to start asking yourself these questions. Are these new immigrants who start businesses in primarily black neighborhoods, are they hiring you? And if not, why aren't they? Start demanding that if you're going to start a business in your neighborhood, that they have to employ people from that community. It's only fair. It's only fair. So that's what's happening. You want to invite all these so-called minorities because you identify with the term minority in a victimhood mindset. These people who are coming over here are not victims. You are. Black America, you are the victims. And you're sabotaging yourself because of this love affair for the term minority. Minority only means under 50%. We were the second largest group in the United States. And you know what? I think we're down to number 3. Whites are the first, then Hispanics, and then now blacks. So as time goes on, our minority status gets lower and lower and lower and lower. And my concern, and why I'm also doing this live stream, is that my concern that we're going to be off the page. And I don't want that to happen. Yeah. So that's all I can think about with this section on immigration. Let me read. Let's say I don't think I've read this comment here. Okay, Daryl Martin says the case of Jeff Epstein used to build trust with women voters and damage control for the female crotch-grabbing comment going towards election, but not to threaten the higher-up white males involved. Interesting. Wow, I didn't know that. That's an interesting perspective. See, that it's like a seduction. No one touched Jeffrey Epstein, even though he had a reputation. Yeah. So the last thing I'm going to talk about in this live stream is the term chimera. Yeah, a chimera. Let me just fix something here on my screen. Just fixing something. Okay. And this video that I'm going to show you, well, I'm just going to show you pictures. I'm not going to have it running because they've been demonetizing even if I don't have the audio on. Okay, so I'm just going to show the picture. No movement and no audio. Okay. Well, let me tell what the word chimera. A chimera is a term, and basically what it is someone, a human being who has genetics of, how you say, it's like you have 2 sets of genetics in you. Okay, like if someone took a DNA, you're going to have a set of DNA, but different parts of your body may have different sets of genes. Like let's say you were a twin. Well, you were to be a twin. Let's say a fraternal twin. That means 2 separate eggs were fertilized. What could happen early in the egg's development, that the two eggs fused together. So you got the DNA from, after they were fertilized. I think, yeah, after the eggs are fertilized, but somehow the two eggs come together and fuses together. So what would have been two separate fetuses is now going to merge and become one whole person with two sets of genetics. And that it basically what a chimera is. So I found a video that caught my attention, and I saw one of them in the past. And this case, it was a court case, well, a potential court case. There was a woman, and let me just, okay, there was a woman. She had a boyfriend, and I'm going to, again, tie this all in. See, everything is about through the Black perspective. So each of these things I'm going to talk about is going to discuss through the Black perspective and how it affects us, or how it could affect us, okay? Now, there was a woman, American woman. She was a white woman. She was about 21 years of age, and she had a Black American boyfriend. She gets pregnant, and then she has a second kid by the man. And then when she got pregnant with the third kid, she says, things are kind of tough right now economically, and I want to get apply for food stamps. And so she went to apply for food stamps. Well, what I didn't know was that, they asked for her to take a blood sample and her boyfriend. And they said, yes, definitively, the two kids are his. But her DNA showed that she was not the mother. Well, they took 3 more tests, DNA tests, and the test came out the same. And so the welfare office wants to charge her for fraud. Now, this case has a lot of questions to it because it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, the questions, the surface questions. Okay, yes, the DNA in her didn't match those babies, but I would imagine, say, well, I'm the parent. I don't know how that could happen, and I have the birth certificate, and it's saying I'm the mother of those kids. And again, people could, let's say she had what do you call it, when they implant somebody else's egg in the mom and use the boyfriend, and she'll be like the surrogate. She's still entitled to, for those kids, food stamps. But see, I think what makes this case hairy through the Black perspective is because the woman is white and the boyfriend is Black. Let me show you a picture. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, I'm just navigating this window here. Okay, I have to just fix this. Okay, I found it. Let me put the transition. Okay, it's not. Let me lift it up a little bit more. Okay, just noticed. It's just out of fourth woman. I don't know why it's showing it lower on the screen. I want it to be centered. So maybe this is why. Okay. Okay, maybe that's... Okay. This person here, let me blow it up. Let me see, make it smaller. Oops. Didn't mean to play it. Sorry. I hope they're not going to minus me for that. Oh. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there. I don't know why it's showing on the screen like this. Okay. Now this video, it's entitled The Twin Inside Me, Chimera, Medical Document. It's part of Real Stories. Okay, he is the biological father. Okay, and let me show you the mom. Okay, let me show another picture. I don't want it to look like that. Okay, and this is the mother. She is the biological mother of her babies. And let me show you the picture of the babies. Let's see. Okay, so this is one of the babies. Okay, just a regular kid, really cute kid. Okay, so this is the father again. So what happened was, because her DNA did not match the kids, they thought that the father might have been, father and the mother was trying to scam the government for food stamps, okay? For food stamps. So it's not like they're trying to steal something mega. Food stamps is not a lot of money. And again, it is to feed babies, okay? So, but it's definitive that it's his baby, and he has a right as an American citizen to have his kid get on food stamps if they financially qualify to receive that benefit. So why are they making an issue in this case for this woman? Oops. Trying to get it. Okay, now this woman. One thing about this woman, she's not a wealthy woman, modest background. She's not rich or anything like that. Just really working class neighborhood, okay? And so here she's just going to get a benefit. Just, she brought the babies with her, the two young kids. I think one was 4, the other one might have been 2, and she's pregnant with the third one in her belly. I would imagine that the question I asked myself was, well, it's definitely her boyfriend. So on the fact that, give it based on who he is. And maybe she's acting as legal guardian. So I would imagine that, I assume that the welfare office would say, okay, the birth certificate. And the birth certificate would indicate that she is the mother of those kids. But let's say if they thought she was a surrogate. Aren't there surrogate rights? If she wanted a baby, that's her business whether she wanted a baby. She is the legal parent of those kids. But that was not presented. It was never mentioned about the, that type of proof. They just said DNA shows you're not the mother. Okay, well, maybe, I would just assume, okay, she might be legal guardian. But see, how the system worked was that I felt because they are an interracial couple, they automatically want to vilify this woman for getting involved with a black man, and that the black man was part of a scheme to get some other woman pregnant and then give those kids to this woman, which really wouldn't make no sense. It's that theory is really foolish. She has a doctor, right? The pediatrician, the person, the OBGYN, say, yes, this is so-and-so, and yes, I delivered a baby from her. That is her baby. They did mention that the birth certificate had the baby's footprint, so yes, she delivered that baby, but they didn't. And they harassed her for about 2 years just for food stamps. That she's always been the mother. The girl's parents, I think they might have talked to the parent, or at least this woman talked to her parents about what was going on. She also tried to contact she contacted several lawyers, and because the DNA indicated she was not the mom, they did not want to take the case. But still, the man and woman, they're taking care of a child. I'm sure she has the birth certificate of her own children, and she's under OBGYN care. So at one point, well, she has her third baby, and the welfare office said, well, we're going to bring in somebody, a representative, who's going to be in the room, the delivery room, and demand a blood test from both of you to find out the status of that baby, because they really didn't believe her. So the tests were the same, that yes, they witnessed the birth of the baby. The blood tests were drawn and indicating, that yes, the father is the father of those kids, but she's not. But somehow, I think one of her lawyers found out about a case, because they found it intriguing, and she was able to eventually get a lawyer. And I guess they did the research, and that's when they discovered about the term chimera, that there was another woman. She was to get she was an older person. She has adult children, and she had some kidney issue, and she needed a kidney transplant. And so, let me see if I can find her. They're on the same the same documentary. Yeah, this is the other woman. Okay. Now this woman, she's also a white woman, and I forget what state she is from. But as I said in this documentary, that she was a respected woman of her community, and they worded it like that, a respectable woman from her community. She is also married. Her husband is also white. Her children are white. And again, she has a kidney disease, and she needs a new kidney. So they initially went to test the children, the adult children, and then they found out that at least 2 of her children's DNA it indicated that she was not the mom. So it was a repeated case, and so this really intrigued the doctor. And they said, well, they believed, the woman said, these are my kids. I delivered them. So it's the same scenario as the younger woman with the black boyfriend. But they said, but they believed her. And they wanted to find out how this could happen. So on face value, even though DNA, and like some people say, DNA doesn't lie, but they believed her because she seemed like a credible woman to them, to the people involved. And again, she wasn't going for any government aid. She just was getting tested to find a DNA match so that she can get a kidney transplant. Okay, so again, the issue was different, but they said, we believe you. And the doctors did research, genetic research, to try to find out how this could be. And so they tested her own parents. Her parents, I think it was her parents. No, it was her, let's see. They tested her husband and the children more in detail. But what they found, that her third kid, she also has 3 kids, just like the other lady. And it turns out the third child of hers that you see on the screen did match her DNA. And so that intrigued them even more. And it turned out that some of the cells have have her DNA, and other DNA within the same body has a different DNA than hers. And so I think the first woman that I showed you, show back, this woman, okay, that their lawyers found out about it, and they discovered, she took many tests. They were able to, they checked the cells of her cervix, and they found that it matched the baby that you see there and her other kids. But they were going to throw this woman in prison for fraud, even, which is really ridiculous because it's coming out of her body. The kids need food, but I feel because she's married to a black man, you show that, oops, sorry, because she's married to him, I mean not married, she let me show that, because the father of her child is a black man, I feel that they automatically want to associate it with some criminal activity. I have to add, I think they did mention that the boyfriend had in the past been involved in something that was questionable. So that didn't help. And the government was going to take away the kids. They're going to take away her children from her, from that came out from her own body. Whether it's a surrogate or not, she's acting as parent, and I'm sure she has birth certificates and it has her as mommy. So she's the legal parent. Just like you can have a man, or someone who's legally married, and let's say the baby is not the man's, but somebody else. He, by law, because he's married to the lady, legally has to take care of those kids. So what's the difference? She is the mom, or acting as surrogate, whatever. But see, there's a key issue here also. And one of that is the marriage status. She was not married to the guy. And I did a video, I think it was last week, about, I think it's entitled, The Importance of Marriage. See, people regardless of your race, but in particular the black community, marriage is important. And I think that if they were married, that to question, because see, when you're married, whatever comes out of your body in that union, it's a legal, it's legal. And so by law, that kid is covered under your umbrella, even if it's known you're not the biological parent, because you are legally married, and so you that kid is legally your responsibility. Just like with Michael Jackson. That Michael Jackson had children because he was legally their parent, their parent, not because if he was not genetically their kids. You know what I'm saying? So he may not be biologically the parent, but he legally was their parent. Okay? He did the paperwork for that. So the biological mom signed over the kid over to Michael Jackson. Okay? So I thought it was really problematic. Let me just switch this screen. Yes, I thought it was really problematic that in this case of an interracial relationship, that I feel that, in my opinion, that the couple was stigmatized, and stigmatized for several reasons. They were not legally married. It's an interracial couple. The food stamp people demanded DNA from the guy and the lady. Okay, so it's, I mean, just to get food, they get a blood test. Okay, but that marriage status is a biggie. I don't think they would have gone to that extent. And why I think this case is important is for several reasons, Okay, I used to work in a, let me get some water. I'm sorry there. Yeah, my lips are getting a little dry. Okay. Why this is important to me in this case is that, see, a couple of years ago in 2012, I used to work at a WIC office. WIC stands for Women, Infants, and Children. And this is a program, I think it's actually a federal program, and I think it's in all states. And WIC, some of the guidelines, I don't remember all the guidelines, but what I could remember, because it's a while ago, that if you are an at-risk mommy, meaning, for instance, if the mother has low iron, that could be a risk for if she's pregnant and if she's breastfeeding, okay? Because then you could be weak and everything, and they don't want weak babies or weak mommies. So having good nutrition will help improve the status of the mother's health. So the doctor, the OBGYN doctor of hers, will fill out this paperwork, and the mommy would take this paperwork and bring it to a WIC office and say, I got this recommendation from my doctor, I want to apply for WIC. And she'll provide whatever documentation, okay? Moreover, that if the woman is an illegal alien / undocumented worker, we cannot turn away any any woman, any pregnant woman, or any mommy with a young kid that's under the age of 5. I think it's up to 4. I think it's up to 5, and then from 5 plus, there's another program. I think it's this SNAP program, and I forget that it's an acronym for something, but it's a supplementary food program for children of older ages from 5 on to some level. Okay, so when I started working there, well, I worked there as a volunteer. I had just graduated from the college that I went to with a master's in nutrition, and so I utilized my skills and started out, because jobs were hard to come by, and I really wanted to get out there, and so I was fortunate enough to get a volunteer position there, and I initially had a lot of fun working for them. Well, I'm sorry, for doing volunteer work with them. And so what happened, okay, so I had to give little talks and discussion about health and nutrition for the moms. And I did examinations, physical exams, to get the weight of the baby, the height of the baby or the toddler. And we're given like the booklet on the rules and regulations of it, who qualifies. And I was told specifically by the managers there that that the WIC agency is to provide regardless of the mother's legal status. And I was required to tell the people in the waiting room that regardless of your status, your resident status, that you cannot be, that we have to service you and give you. So if that is the case, and that was in 2012 and 2013 in the United States, in New York City, so if any illegal woman comes in pregnant, she can get food stamps. So how is it that, okay, I'm going to show again. So how is it that this woman, an American woman, and her American boyfriend, again, I don't know what state she was in, but the WIC, WIC, or the food stamp program, it's a federal program, I believe. Both of them, I think, food stamp and WIC. It's based on need. Why was she scrutinized so horribly and stressing out the mother's health? Because they threatened to take away those kids from her and put it into some type of temporary custody, not even allowing the biological father. They knew who the biological father was, so why couldn't he just take the kids? But they did that. And I'm suggesting that they were doing that because it's a black man, and they don't like that this white woman is involved with a black man. How could you do that? She's an American woman. Why would they were they being so stringent on her? But see again, and this is all coming together. This is all coming together about the status of black people in America. The status of black people in America, that you're being treated as a second-class citizen in comparison to guest workers, foreigners, who want the same benefits that you want, that you qualify for. And I already said that in the WIC program that you can be an illegal, and we're not even supposed to even ask you, that you just get. And the children get. Anybody who comes in there who financially qualifies, or a mommy or a baby at risk health-wise, will get on this food program. But they're making an issue and making it harder for American people. I hope you guys are hearing me out there. I hope you hear what I'm saying on YouTube. You got to respond. Let me know that you understand, that you hear what I'm saying, and the implications, what's going on in America today. What's going on is that American blacks are being pushed out, are being put on the fringe of society, and that whether you want to call them guest workers, hopefuls, what you want to call them, their status is being protected, that they can come into the U.S., get free food, without having to prove that that's their kid through a blood test, like this woman, this American woman. She's given food. She's given, what else? Free medical care. But here, this American couple, and yes, they were not married, but to harass them and threaten to take their children, even though she's the legal mother, because it came from her body. She has the birth certificate's in her name most likely, and I'm sure it must have the boyfriend's name on it. And if this is not his name on it, he took the DNA test, and it showed that he was the father, and the father of the new baby, the third baby. And they were together at that time. So this is really something. Yeah. It's taking away the rights of the father, the black father. It's taking away rights and then going to put them in some foster care system, and you know what happens to kids in foster care. Yeah, it's not safe for them. Yeah, this should really be a wake-up call to those of you who are listening now, because this is very, very important. You know, some of you may not think it's important, but see, mistakes could happen, and because of a mistake of somebody else's, that it could harm you, and your family could be taken away from you. But they're not taking away the kids from these undocumented / illegal people who are taking your food, your money through public assistance, your room in the classroom, everything. Their rights are being protected, but not Americans. Because these illegal / guest workers, whatever you want to call them, are here because of cheap labor. That you have people, employers here, who just want cheap workers at any cost, because they don't want to pay black people the proper wage. And yeah, I see that the numbers watching is dropping. You guys don't like what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is true. This is not hate speech. This is love speech. Love speech for my own as an American, my own as a veteran, my own as someone who is of the black community. My own is multifaceted. I care about all of you. Yeah. And so also with that case, with the two white women, there were different social economic statuses also, and I think that had a big play in it. The one with the interracial couple, they were poor. The other couple, both white couples, they were more, of sound standing financially. It was just a health issue that the woman had, and they needed to get a kidney match, and that's the only reason why they discovered the problem. Okay, so your economic status determines a lot how you'll be treated. Okay, I want to repeat that. Your economic status in the United States has a big part in how you will be treated. If you're poor, most likely you're not going to be treated well. If you have money, you'll probably be believed. So money breeds believability in many people's mind. And not having money breeds the idea that you're not trustworthy. But look at here with Jeffrey Epstein has they said that his assets are worth $500 million according to the news media. Yep, $500 million that he's his value. And people didn't bother him because he's rich. And so it breeds of an attitude of believability. But he wasn't someone, according to data, he didn't have his court case because he allegedly killed himself, but still, he was treated differently. And as I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about Epstein, that about the confiscation of property. They never confiscated his property, Jeffrey Epstein's. Never. Everything was intact. But you have drug dealers and those who are black. Everything is taken from them. So what is determining when they confiscate and when they don't confiscate, even though both are federal crimes? Drug trafficking and human trafficking are both federal crimes and receives a high penalty in the court of law. But the court of law didn't apply in the Epstein case. Why is that? Why didn't the Epstein case, the law, why didn't it apply to him? That is a big question in all this with Jeffrey Epstein. It's a big question mark. And some people believe that he might be still alive. And I think I might do a card reading. I have these tarot cards. And I was thinking about doing a tarot card reading on Jeffrey Epstein, whether he's alive or did he die in his cell. I think I might do it. Let me know if you want to see that. You can type in the chat room whether you would like for me to do a live stream doing a tarot card reading on Jeffrey Epstein. Let me know in the chat room below. Okay. Let's see what else I have here. Yeah, okay, going back to the chimera. That's with when you have two genetics in your body, and so if they do a DNA sample, you may have discover two or more sets of DNA. Okay, so you have one set of DNA, and then your kid has the hidden DNA from you, It goes on. And again, I do have a link in the description box that you can click on and watch the documentary. It is a fantastic documentary. It's about 46 minutes long, and it's worth your watch, because see, the more you learn, the more you can teach and tell people. And this is particularly important case because I wrote here, like, what if in the past, like, have any of you ever watched those those talk shows, and they have the paternity tests, and sometimes people may take a DNA test and they say that you're not the parent. What if in any of those cases someone was disqualified as being the father? What if he was? What if the father was a chimera also? Right? The father passes on his sperm, but let's say the sperm is of a different DNA from, let's say, the cells of his arm or his face or his hair. They had this one woman on one of those shows, the paternity, checking paternity, and the woman, they did over 20 prospective fathers. I think at that point the woman, she just was desperate at that time of just, trying to find out who the father was. But what if, that she was right about, let's say, the first two people that they tested. And I mean that, like, let's say the first two that was tested, let's say one of those two might have been the real dad, right? So it shamed the woman. If you're only with one person and this thing happens, you really wonder. So one in those cases with a lot of people check for paternity, like that woman, 20 or more people were checked. What if the father was a chimera? What if you're a wealthy person and it's let's say someone is, let's say someone has a very big estate and someone doesn't like you, and they pass the rumor, you're not really the biological child, whatever, and then they do a DNA, and let's say you are a chimera, right? It could happen. So it's really important to know about your genetics. Very important to know. What if your DNA, like, let's say you committed a crime, but the DNA that they found is from the different DNA within your body. And so if they do like a general blood test, because see, you according to some of the people who are chimeras, the genes of their blood is not the same as the genes of let's say, their egg cell or their sperm cell. Okay? And they get tested, and they know that's the person that, let's say they're on camera. The person, oh, that's not me. And it's okay, we're going to do a blood test, your DNA. And then the DNA doesn't match his. Right? What if someone's a serial rapist? And the same thing. They didn't find his DNA, even though he physically raped that person. So this is really spooky. So people could be accused of things or not accused of things, and it's all in error. So this is really telling. And this could be used to hurt people in the black community if the person is a black person. Let's see, what else now? I started when I looked at all this information that I have down here. I came to like an insight about this. Okay, and just look at my notes here. Yeah, with the chimera. Now they mentioned like also with the the egg. And like initially with an egg, when the sperm and the egg come together, and then the cell division that starts to happen. But initially it's just one, like it's just one mesh. And then the division starts. But initially it's just all one together. And then it splits into two, then four, and so on, right? And what that reminded me of was that out of one, many. And it reminded me like the universe. Because look, it's showing me that with that egg, that here, that one egg represents all of life. Every potential is inside that egg that united with that sperm. It's one. And it can form into the heart, your skin, your eye, your intestines, and they all specific, very distinct from each other, but yet it came out from the one, that one cell. And I think that's what the universe is all about. That you got this big world out there. There are many different cells slash moons, stars, and everything, but it all, I think, came out of one reality. And so it's just reinforcing to me that we're all one, because we came out of this same global or universal egg. I thought it was really something else. So, in short, as a lot of the New Agers say, that we are all one. I think in all this that I mentioned about with Epstein or immigration or potentially getting your family taken away because of a DNA misunderstanding and how it affects people in the black community, that despite all the hardships that happen, that we're all interconnected and we really are one. And so I'm happy to reflect on that I think it's a beautiful concept. I love the idea of oneness. And so I some of these things that I discuss, I was initially maybe embarrassed to really talk about because how I may be perceived. And I'm human. And yes, sometimes I feel fear and anxious for the community that I live in. I want peace, love, and joy for all people, because we're all human, and we all have to, we basically all have the same needs. We all want love, we want food and water, protection, we all need that. And now what's happening, that we're fighting for resources. And we'll do anything, some of us would do anything to acquire it. And so the story of Jeffrey Epstein is a prime example what he's willing to do to get what he wants. So that's basically all that I could think of right now. But do any of you have any questions that you'd like to share? Any of you there? Any of you have any commentary about Jeffrey Epstein or my discussion about immigration and the undocumented workers, things like that, or even about the Chimera, having a DNA that's not of your general body. Yeah, they all, see, it sounds different, they all seem unrelated, but it all really is related. It really is. Yeah. So anyone there have any questions for me? Yeah, I see that I've been on for a while here. It's over 2 hours, and 2 hours and 21 minutes. But I enjoyed every minute of it. I really enjoy talking to my viewers. I learn from you, and I hope the content that I share is exciting to you, that gives you the opportunity to think of those things that you may not have considered. I hope that what I'm sharing is adding to you, to your awareness. Years ago, I would have never thought of anything like this. I didn't always have the internet. I just watched the general news. But now I don't have a television, and the news I get is through YouTube, basically. And without it, the subjects that I would have known about, I would not have known about maybe 98% of this stuff. Yeah, I don't read the newspaper. I never liked reading the newspaper, and I don't have a TV, but I have the internet and a computer. So, yeah, it's like a cursing and a blessing at the same time. Oh well. So yeah, this was this stream was very important to me, and I hope it really opened up you to consider certain things. Okay, Creative Revival is saying, I also got rid of my cable. Yeah, he Creative Revival also added that he thinks it is related. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Creative Revival. Yeah, thank you. That, yes, some things on the surface may not seem related, but as I demonstrated here, at least what I try to demonstrate, that these different facets of life, it's one diamond but different facets, and they're all showing different things, but it's still part of that big piece, and it affects you in different ways. So I hope that all this information, you'll ponder on it, and be aware of what is going around in your community. Some things on the surface might seem innocent. Again, I'm not anti-immigration. I embrace immigration, but my experience, my personal experience, that it has happened to me at least twice, that I was kicked out. Me and other Americans were kicked out of our job in favor of people who are possibly undocumented, and that some of the government benefits, like the WIC program that I mentioned, stands for Women, Infants, and Children, and also the Head Start program. When I lived in Hawaii, there was a Head Start program, and I did computer work there, computer entry, and one of the interviewers there, they had to interview the moms and visit the children, and she was telling me she worked there for, since she knew a foreign language that was being spoken there on that island, and so she's used as a translator. And she said, yeah, a lot of the people that she interviews, that the majority of them are undocumented / illegals. And that the illegals in Hawaii, I lived on Maui, a lot of them are undocumented workers, and that they are protected more than American blacks on that island. Maui does not like American blacks, but yet foreigners from various countries that live and work there and are getting the jobs over Americans, or Americans are being let go and put in these other people. So it's displacing us, and it happened to me more than twice. Now that I think of it, yeah. So this is just food for thought, and realize that someone may have the same label called minority. Not all minorities are equal. Okay, you're not treated the same, and it's not the same history. Just be aware of that before you start embracing someone because the label minority. Are those same minorities, are they employing you, black man and woman? Most likely the answer is no. So start asking yourself questions. Should I continue to support those people who don't support me? Those of the black community. Start asking yourself those questions. And start protecting your community and where your dollars falls into, because it's being pulled away from your hand to foreigners who are undocumented and who do not care about you. So that's all that I have to say. Oh, wait a minute, I see something here. Creative Revival says, I am not anti-immigration, but we can't have open borders. Yeah, exactly. Just like you're not going to leave your door open in your home. And if you do, it shows that you don't respect where you live. Because if you have your doors open, people are going to wonder, why is your door open? You must not really want what you have, because I'm going to take it. And they're going to despise you. And I'm hearing that. When I heard that this immigrant say that implying, he says, that his country has culture. He said it real arrogant like. So I'm thinking, so why are you here? Because money. Money trumps culture in his eyes. So what is it saying about him? And that's also what's triggering me in all this. You know, that you have people who are here who don't respect Americans, who don't like Americans, but they love our money. And they send that American dollar over to their country. So Americans are becoming poorer and poorer and poorer. And I don't want that to happen. You know, it's okay to share, but you respect who is hosting you. There's no respect anymore. No respect. Yeah? Like Roger Dangerfield, the late actor, comedian, he used to say, no respect, no respect. Yeah, there's no respect anymore. So, yeah, any other comments before I go? I hope you enjoyed this live stream, this August 17, Saturday, 10:18 p.m. Yeah. This was very enjoyable for me, and I hope it was for you. So, I cannot think of anything else, but I really hope you have a wonderful weekend. And yes, tell people about my channel, Spirit Journey. You can comment below, share my videos with friends and family members. And you could, if you like my content and my channel, you could go on my channel. I have a PayPal me account. You can find the link on my channel, and on the top right of the banner of my channel, you'll see the PayPal me link. Just click on it and follow the prompts. Any amount would be appreciated to continue my activities here on YouTube. Okay, I appreciate you, and I thank you in advance for watching, sharing, and your benevolence and donations to me. Take care and enjoy the rest of your evening, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.